welcome to another Watch with Ray. It's been a while. Since we talked. I think it was Interview with a Vampire. Was the last Watch with Ray I did. And it seemed to go over hotcakes or whatever, something from 1937, someone might say, because I'm weird. Cool. And I was hoping to do more of these. So to get in because you guys hear us for 3 hours every 2 weeks, and I thought, don't they want to hear us for more, especially these dulcet tones? What? So we're gonna try to do some new movies too that weren't that we won't be doing on the podcast, like one-offs and stuff like that. I'm going to try to look for ones that are kind of everyone's talking about right now, to give our take, or at least mine, on the subject. And wow, do I have a divisive movie for you tonight. Yikes. So I also want to do a little to my buddies at the Akron Haunted Schoolhouse and Laboratory. We went there. Ween and I went Friday, and we had a blast, and we met some nice people, and it was super fun. And for the newly sober Ray, was eye-opening, because I was like, oh, I don't know, will this be fun for me? I'm not fucking hammered out of my mind. Yes, it was still super fun. Super fun. This was my reaction to any scare actor that I came across, because I saw them before they scared me. So I wasn't really as scared. I really wasn't as scared. It was, hey, what's up? Hey. Hi. How you doing? Yeah, so it was interesting. It was but it was fun. They were great. The scare actors are just 100% in it, and they're nice. And if you we ended up having a many conversation with different scare actors during the night, and they were just awesome. Met some nice people. So 100% I would recommend, and I think you guys should do it. There's 3 times I think a year that they do it, so but definitely check out Cupid's Revenge next year. It'll be too late now. Anywhoozlees, I'm here tonight to talk to you. I just finished it. Holy shit. Skinamarink, which I believe premiered last week. Am I right in that? No, it says January. Oh, it's in theaters. So I think it premiered on Shudder as of last Thursday, maybe, or maybe the Thursday before. Peeps got a lot to say about it. I texted Ween about 15 minutes in. I'd say, I'm doing Skinamarink. You'd fucking hate this. I got it. I can see why people hate it. I totally 100% get it. I don't blame them in the least. It's not as if it's a difficult movie. Let's just say that it's a difficult movie not to get bored at, because I was bored, but I still liked it. I'm gonna go out there on a limb and say that I actually enjoyed this movie. Was it my favorite movie of the year? No. Will it be something I continue to fucking think about? 100%. 100%. I am going to, at some point, we'll talk about the movie, and then at some point I'm going to throw a time code up. I won't say it. I'll just be like, here's the time code, and we'll put it in, because I'd like to spoil it, but I don't want, because I think we need to spoil it to talk about what it means, what the movie is about. So if you don't want to get spoiled, I'm going to get to a certain point, and then you can just jump ahead, and you won't you'll have, really, there's not much to spoil, but I think you should go in with no expectations whatsoever of this movie. Don't go in thinking that it's going to be barbarian, or I'm trying to think any sort of a VHS movie, because it is found footage-y, because it's first person camera. But let's just talk a little bit about the movie first, because it's And I wanted to preface this by saying I was going to do a watch along with Ray about Mayfair Witches, and then I started watching the first episode and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this sounds good. And then I was like, this plot is all over the place. I have no idea what year we're in right now. And so I looked up the book, and I immediately was like, guess what I don't have time for right now is reading and or watching a television show about incest. I'm cool with not. And then on IMDb, the reviews weren't great. Reviews were scathing, like user reviews that were like worse than, I think, because a lot of people were upset with AMC's Interview with the Vampire for taking liberties. But I think that the writing was so solid that most people forgave it and judged it on the writing of, like, even if it's a departure from the book, the writing is solid. So you can still enjoy it, even though you're like, well, it's not really what, but also Anne Rice had a hand in that. And I don't know how much of a hand she had in Mayfair Witches, because I think she'd already been passed on when they started doing this one. And you can kind of tell because the writing is all over the fucking place. And then, yeah, I looked at the plot online. I'm like, yeah, I don't care if they even get into any of this. I am not interested. So I jumped ship quite quickly. Anywho's, Louise. All right, so this movie came out in 2022. It is an hour and 40, and you will feel every fucking minute of that 140. It's the shorts pequeño. Summary of this movie is 2 children wake up in the middle of the night to find their father is missing and all the windows and doors in their home have vanished. That's it. That's all you get, peeps. There are 4 actors in this movie, and 2 are children. 1 is 5 years old and 1 is 4 years old. For the most part, those are who you're seeing through someone's eyes. One of their eyes. I think one of their eyes. Anyhow. So, this was directed and written by Kyle Edward Ball. And he actually, there's a like a dedication to his assistant director, who I believe passed away in 2021. So like right after this film, either in the midst of, but Joshua Buchalter, he passed away at some point. I'm not sure from what, but he was the assistant director on this, second unit or assistant director. So how do we go about this? All right. It is set in 1995. We get that as a title screen that comes up at the very beginning. The texture, so I think I want to say texture. The quality of what we're seeing is so grainy, and it looks like, because it's funny because it says 1995 and I was like, yeah, but we had better cameras in 1995, even personal homemade cameras. So this was like if someone had a reel-to-reel camera and they were filming, through the eyes of a 5-year-old or 4-year-old actually in 1995. And so we have a lot of shots. We don't see literally anybody's face. It's all shots from like legs, or off-kilter shots, Dutch angles. There's a whole bunch of, I'm sure there's other fucking shots, arrangements, and I have no idea. I just know Dutch angle. And it's so grainy that you can, and a lot of times the camera just sticks on like a doorway that is dark, and you have to try to adjust your eyes to see what's happening, if there's something happening. And the beauty is that you are filling your mind in with what is in the darkness. And So you are imagining, or you're picturing, because I think your brain is actually taking that like negative space and creating an image that you are seeing in that, in that darkness, because there's nothing there. I mean, they literally had like, I think $15,000 or something crazy for this film. Probably maybe more than that, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like literally $15,000. And there are periods where I mean, it is a good 2 minutes where we just hang on a doorway, and in the background is constantly playing, the TV's on, and it's constantly playing like 30s and 40s cartoons, like Merry Melodies sort of thing. And it's on a loop, when soon as we get some action at the very, very beginning, where we learn through a conversation that we don't see, we just hear it. And we hear so the two children are Kevin and Kaylee. And Kaylee and Kevin, we've learned from this conversation over a phone, we don't hear the recipient's dialogue. We just hear what dad is saying, and we believe that we're talking to mom. And dad is saying that Kevin had taken a spill, because come to find out he's a sleepwalker, and he had taken a spill down the stairs and hit his head. But they didn't have to do any, like, they were like, oh, but he's fine. They didn't have to do any, there weren't any stitches or any, like, he started to say stitches, and mom cuts him off with what we don't know. And the scene changes again. We never we do and we don't. So we physically do not see dad at this point. Kaylee and Kevin wake up, and they can hear dad starting the car and driving off. At the very, like, and this is around the same point as they pull their blankets into the hallway where their bedroom is, and they sit like, this is like one of the only times you can actually see a face, is you can see, I think it's Kaylee sitting behind Kevin, because Kaylee's older, and they're sitting kind of like crisscross applesauce in the hallway with the light on, and the nightlight still on, like, because they have one of those ones that's like motion sensor, or like light censored. And this, to me, was when we start getting into creepy territory, mostly because they're sitting in a row, and it's, and I think why it's creepy is because it's single file. They're not sitting next to each other. They're sitting single file, looking straight ahead, and you legitimately have no idea what's happening. And somewhere in between here, we're led to believe they go back to bed, or they fall asleep or something, because they quote unquote wake up the next day. But this is where you start getting really disoriented, because this is when the doors and the windows start to disappear. I have to say, everyone bitches about because first door leaves, we lose the first door at minute 16, I believe, is when the first door. So you had that first 16 minutes of buildup, and people are like, is something going to happen? What is happening is they're going around the house, and they're showing you shots of walls with doors and windows, so you get an idea of how the house is set up. So that when the windows and doors start to disappear, you'll notice that there's no door or window. You're like, holy shit, there should be a fucking door there. Where's that? Where to go? But the other thing that they do, and they employ this sound effect that I know they used to use in like 60s in like educational films, like the boink like sound when they're like, if you're trying to figure it out, think of Measuring Man. Think of Measuring Man. If you know who Measuring Man is, you know the short of Measuring Man. Boink, like something, you know, pops into existence. Well, that's kind of what happens with the doors and the windows. You get this, like, you get a shot of a blank wall, then a doink, and then the window's there, and then a doink again, and the window's gone. Around that same time, every time one of that happens, you get this very eerie music, and it literally, and I'm gonna say this because we do get some subtitles in here because they're children and it's hard to understand what they're saying. And there are some diegetic voices that you can't grasp what the fuck they're saying unless you yourself have subtitles, because there's the subtitles that are added in to the movie itself. And then I would suggest watching this at home and putting on the subtitles, because you will catch a lot fucking more than you will with just trying to gauge, because I can't fucking hear. So because I have the hearing of a, you know, what is that? You wouldn't hear a fucking fireworks truck going through a nitroglycerin plant. Yeah, that's me. I wouldn't. So yeah, that would be a whole big recommend. Someone also recommends, and I do too, watching with no lights on. No lights. Because what's starting to happen, if you're not getting an idea here, is we're now stuck with, and I mean this in the nicest sense, two children who have no fucking clue what is happening. Two children who, think about a 5-year-old, what they fucking know about how food is made, how to call someone on the phone. Like, our kids don't call people anymore because we don't call people anymore. So how do we teach them how to call 911? That sort of thing, which unfortunately these little bitches do. And it just is a disconnected like hum the whole time. So they can't even call anyone. Let's see. So then they've decided to move their base down to, because since the doors are they're losing windows and they're losing doors, they outside. They're like, and so all the light that they have is literally from the television, pretty much. Like, they don't want to start using, because they do have lights on at certain points. They keep turning lights on and off. You can tell this is a house where mom and dad are like, or at least dad is like, you need to turn those lights off when you're out in the room, because they are very much like, we got to save electricity. Don't want to waste electricity. And some dad's like, I just know from the grave, I just know someone's turned the thermostat up and somebody's had my lights on and they're not even in the room. But so they're like kind of hunkering down in the living room in front of this TV, which at some points, if you're looking straight on at it, it's lit up, but there's nothing on the screen. It's a white screen, and there's just, but you can hear the cartoon sounds. So you can hear the cartoon playing, but you can't see it. There's only a few certain times in this where you actually see you actually physically see the cartoon being played. Like, and it's different cartoons. One will come into play in a little bit. However, so quickly keep it moving. This is weird. This is, oh my God. It wasn't very long into this movie is heartbreaking, because you're talking about two adorable babies who are scared because they are 4 and 5 and they have no fucking clue what's happening. Their father's gone. There's no doors. There's no windows. There's no way to call anybody. Awesome. They know how to get juice and how to eat cereal. But at some point soon, the toilet disappears. So these babies just be pooping on the floor at some point. They are smart enough to bring in buckets to where the toilet was. Smart babies. Smart babies. Anywho's, Louise. We get this line, which fucking broke me. We get Kaylee and and Kevin are getting ready for bed, and Kaylee says to Kevin, "Can you turn the television off? I can't sleep with the light, like with the light on. I won't be able to sleep with the light on." And one says to the other, one goes, "Love you," and the cutest little fucking voices, and the other one goes, "Love you too." It is. Do you want to break your heart in 42 different places? This fucking movie will. Okay. Um. Yeah. So at one point, we don't know what day it is. We don't know if it's day. Kaylee says she gets Kevin up and she's like, "It's time to wake up." She goes, "I think it's time to wake up. I think it's time that we should, it would be time to get up," because they don't know. They have no clue. Then lights stop working in some of the bedrooms. Because there's one point where they're going to this room that I think where all their toys are at, because they start bringing more and more toys out, and you can hear them slipping the switch on and off and on and off and on and off and on and off. Nothing's happening. So you know that power is not working. It starts happening all through the house more and more. We get a lot of lines from the two of them that are kind of integral to the, like, there's a scene here where I think Kaylee says, "How come no one's come yet?" Meaning to the house. Like, how come no one's come to look for us? And then Kevin asks Kaylee, "Why is mommy crying?" These are subtitled on the screen. We get no answer. I mean, I got an answer, but again, we'll get to that later. Then, so not only is the fucking electricity going out, but now all of a sudden there's a chair on the ceiling. Again, 5 and 4-year-olds. Okay. Explain that to a 5 and a 4-year-old, why there's a chair on the ceiling. They're not going to understand. I mean, this is where I wrote what my theory was with this movie. All right. So like I said, no, the toilet's gone. Now some of the toys are starting to go up to the ceiling. Kaylee goes looking for her toys, and they have flashlights too. These fucking kids are so fucking smart. And a Barbie doll she freaks out because one of her Barbie dolls is on the ceiling. Oh, and here is, okay, so I'm trying to debate where to. Yeah, we'll just keep talking and then I'll tell you, we'll give you so this is where we get the fucking creepiest voice that says, "Come upstairs." And I said, oh, fuck you, no cunt. I ain't coming upstairs. No, I ain't not. I am not coming upstairs. Nope. Nope. No, I am not. You can take your creepy voice and fuck off into the sunset. Nope. But poor Kaylee goes upstairs, and we're about 45 minutes in. And this scene, I know I'm not going to ruin it for you, but this is Kaylee's last scene that we see through her eyes. It is scary. There's nothing in this movie there's jump scares, but to me, they were kind of telling. I mean, like, there weren't really jump scares. Everyone says jump scares, they really weren't. This part, though, is disturbing in its ambiguity. Like, again, I'm not going to explain it because I really want, if you want to see it, you want to, like, because I'm going to recommend it. So I would say this is a really good part. But this is the only time you're actually going to see mom and dad, but you don't see their faces. All right, let's keep going. So like I said, this is Kaylee's last scene. And then let's see, I have 54 minutes. Okay. All right, this is so Kevin starts to realize that he is on his own. Like, Kaylee's gone. He doesn't know where she's at. Again, 4 years old. And all of a sudden, there's a voice that tells him to go to sleep. Cool. So he's still laying in front of the television again. Cartoons on a loop. And we think he might be asleep, but I don't think so. I think he's just staring into the void. And we just see his toys start moving. We just hear clamoring. It's like clattering of toys, and the toys just are disappearing from our view. We don't see where they're going. We don't see who's moving them. We just see they're moving. And then then we have another fucking voice where again I'm like, no, you cunt, I ain't not doing this. Hard pass. Some very scary voice says, Kevin, come to the basement. Fuck you, voice. Fuck you. So Kevin, being a 4-year-old, goes to the basement and he begins to hear Kaylee crying for him. And it's muffled and distant, but he can hear her saying, I feel strange and hurt. And something else. There is one jump scare here. That's lame. And then again, we get the voice that says, tells him to sleep. And okay, this is where I'm going to say, if you don't want this ruined for you, stop now. I'm going to say, come back to the end. Again, I would recommend this. Most people are going to fucking hate it. So, I mean, take my recommendation with a grain of salt, but like, if you were ready for this, if you drop a Delta 9 and watch it, possibly, but you have to pay attention. You have to pay attention to it. Like, it's not one of those ones you cannot look away from the screen, because when you do, you're going to miss something. Anyhow, all right, so here's the time that you come back. All right, so now I'm going to start fucking spoiling it for everybody. Sorry, guys. That's what you're here for, right? Isn't it? All right. So on one of the cartoons, the music is called Presto Changeo, and it starts to skip. So the cartoon skips and the sound skips. And before, when I said when the doors and windows started disappearing, there was like an eerie sound that would come on, and then a door would disappear. Here we go again. So in replacing the eerie sound is this Presto Changeo skipping sound. Oh, fuck me. And then the diegetic voice comes back and says, I want to play. Cool. Then tells Kevin, put the knife in. Well, first you hear the sound of a utility knife opening, like snicking open, like. And then this creepy voice says, put the knife in your eye. And then you hear this baby, this 4-year-old baby, screaming and sobbing because he did it. Because your next scene, there's blood all over the cabinets from what you can see, because again, this is all by like flashlight at this point and television screen. But this is where there's blood loss, and this is my own opinion, and from what I gather online, I think it's pretty close to what's happening. Is Kevin never, again, I'm spoiling, Kevin never makes, he doesn't gain consciousness after falling down the stairs. I think he heard his father make the phone call, and I think his father was trying to not scare his mother by saying he was okay. But I think at that point he had already started losing consciousness. And I don't believe he ever wakes up. And I think these moments are his brain cells dying. Or at least, yeah, I mean, we learn very quickly. So first he's laying in the living room, and again, middle distance staring, and he can hear the dial tone, the phone. Like you when that you're, oh God, you guys don't even remember because you guys are fucking young. So when you had landlines, if the phone was off the hook, it would make a certain noise so that way you knew in another room, oh fuck, the phone is off the hook. If it was disconnected, it also made a different noise. If a phone was already engaged, like if somebody was like, it was call waiting or whatever, it made a different noise. Like it had a weird sound, like a beep sound when you called. So he hears that noise and recognizes that the phone's working. So he calls 911 and has the saddest exchange. I mean, short of like me calling 911 because I'm drunk and like naked in my front yard, that's probably pretty sad. But this, I mean, besides that, this is the saddest fucking 911 because this person on the other line, because we can hear a little bit of the exchange from the other end. Oh, it's a lot of stay with me, sweetheart. Are you there by yourself? Where in the house are you? And he says like all the doors are gone. And again, it's this little tiny voice trying to like explain what's happening to him. And he says, I got cut in the eye and I don't feel good, or I hurt. And so at some point he starts to, I don't know if it's his brain again shutting down, because you can hear the 911 operator continue being like, sweetheart, are you there? Are you there? Hello. And then you see him put the phone, like toss the phone down. And so he's not obviously talking to that person anymore. But he wasn't really talking to that person in the first place. Like these are his brain, this is the brain activity. These are the dreams he's having as he is, as we learn right now, in a coma. Because, we start to see, this is where it gets very much like this is where people were getting pissed, I'm sure. I mean, people were pissed through the whole thing, I'm sure. But this is where they were getting really angry, because it doesn't make a lot of sense, because it's not supposed to. It's very broken, and this, like, there'll just be a random shot of the darkened hallway. Again, now he wakes up, he's on the ceiling. Like he is now on the ceiling with all of there's a whole bit with his toys and stuff. All of the toys have moved to the ceiling. And so I think one of the posters for this movie is all of these Legos and like those sort of connector sets, like on the ceiling, in a pile. That's kind of what is happening at the same time. So, at this point, it's just bits and pieces of like, he keeps flicking his flashlight on and off. And again, I think that's nerve cells just sparking, or like, and every time you're expecting something in the light when he turns it back on. There's only one little thing, that fucking, I don't know what you guys, if you remember, like those little Fisher Price phones that they like, you could pull around. It had a face on it. Never fucking not scary. Especially this one is like a little dirty and it's got weird eyes and it just looks looking at you. You know, it's gonna be like, you're gonna be having sex and it's gonna be staring at you. I mean, why would you be having sex when you have one of those things? If you, hey, you know what? Whatever. If you still got that thing and it's in your bedroom while you're having sex, you know, whatever. That's no kink shame. You do you, king. All right. Then the static. So the static, like television static, because at this point there's nothing on the television. It's pretty much the house is dark. Again, his brain is shutting down. He has been in a coma for 572 days, we learn. It just comes up on the screen, 572 days. So he fell down the stairs. He had traumatic brain injury. And his mind is comforting him, or I've heard people say that they've had a brain injury and they are in like a unconscious state and they have the weirdest dreams, and that's what's happening. He's dreaming about his older sister taking care of him, and and then her going away, and she probably hears her talking to him. because they do say when kids, when people are in comas, they can hear you. So a lot of that. But at some point he forgets his own name because he says, "What is your name? What is your name?" So after, almost 2 years in a coma, he's forgotten his own name. The last, he sees, oh my God, this is heartbreaking. He sees, Kaylee facing the wall again. You never see anybody's face, facing the wall at one point, because it's like in and out of consciousness. That's what you've got to imagine. This is like flashes of different set pieces. It is very much like avant-garde. And you see Kaylee sitting and just staring at the wall, and she slowly disappears, and he's forgetting her. That's what's happening. And the last shot of this movie is a very, very faceless face, that body. I don't know if it's supposed to be mom or what, comes over to him, looks at him, and tells him to go to sleep. And he says, "What is your name? What is your name?" And then the face just disappears. I can only fucking imagine people walking out of theaters going, "What the fuck did I just watch?" But my note halfway through, I said, this is where I wrote my theory was I thought they were both dead. But then I saw a really good convincing theory that I was like, yes, that makes a whole lot of sense. That it is actually Kevin is dying. And it makes sense because they don't say that Kaylee hurt herself during the fall either. It's just Kevin. But it would make sense that they're very close because they're, again, only a year apart in age. So it would make sense that he would dream about his older sister taking care of him. So yeah. Wow, guys. Wowzers. Yeah. Whoa. I don't know what will happen with this movie because it doesn't have it's back and forth. Then like Rotten Tomatoes, it's got like a 70 something, which is not bad. IMDb has a horrible percentage for reviews. I just think you got to be in the mindset. I think you've got to be ready for if you like something different, if you like atmospheric horror, like I would say if you are a big Ty West fan, fuck yes, you'll love this movie. Not Ty West acts like Ty West, like whose House is the Devil, right? Isn't he? I think like that. Like it is atmospheric as fuck. Like I think we've talked on the podcast before. What is the scariest is the dark itself, is what, not so much the dark, it's what's in the dark. And I think that's what this movie does. It takes what you are imagining, like your brain is supplying for you. It's supplementing. It's saying, I don't know what's in here, so I'm just going to make imagination is going to make the worst fucking weird creature. It's going to come out, probably got tentacles, possibly have 4 dicks. I don't know. Again, whatever your kink is, it's monster love season. But I would totally recommend. I would be interested to see where this guy's going to go next. But yeah, oh yeah, I can definitely. It'll be the Hereditary of 2022 because a lot of people didn't care for Hereditary either. I fucking loved it, but I can see why you didn't. But this one is definitely. It's a slog. I got bored. I got bored. I'm not gonna lie. Anywho's, for us at the B3 podcast, we have an episode coming up this weekend. We just released because our schedule's a little off, but we just released our first of the Black History celebration month. We are doing Jordan Peele month. Because he's got 3 main titles, and then we're doing a movie inspired by, we think, Jordan Peele, which is Master, which came out in 2022. So first week that we just released was Get Out and Us, and then we'll be recording Nope and Master this weekend. Also, please check out we have a video with Ryan Francis, Darren from Thanksgiving. He was just he's amazing, and he was so nice to sit down and talk with us. So enjoy that. We fucking enjoyed it, so I hope you guys do. I think you will. Other than that, like, check back. I hope to have something up about Terrifier 2 and Megan soon. So yeah, so another Watch with Ray. Keep it spooky.